All right, so I think we all know what the major action movie classics are. Terminator, RoboCop, Die Hard, First Blood, all those kind of great movies that we love. But what else? What else is there? What are some underrated, or you might say underseen, action movies for you to check out? I'm going to tell you about 5 that are currently on Blu-ray and tell you why you should pick them up. But first of all, everybody, thank you so much for stopping by on the Cobwebs channel. This is the place where we dust off old movies. We talk about some classic, retro kind of stuff, usually on physical media. My name is Daniel. I am your host. And yeah, I'm going to talk to you about action movies today, which I'm really excited to do because it's something that I've done very little on this channel. And to be honest, action movies have been a big part of my movie watching life for a long time, really ever since I was growing up. First up, on Blu-ray from the MVD Rewind collection, this is Drive from 1997. Now, all the movies I'm going to talk to you about today are from the 80s and 90s. That really is my sweet spot when it comes to action. That's the stuff I'm most passionate about. There's good modern stuff, but this is my heart right here. Drive is a fantastic movie starring Mark Dacascos, a kind of lesser known martial arts star. You know, he's not quite on like the Van Damme level, but he's pretty darn good. Starring in this movie as a guy who he's had some kind of a experimentation done on him, and it's made him have superhuman martial arts fighting skills. And the people that did that to him are on the run trying to catch him because he's on the run trying to escape these people, doesn't want to fall into their hands and become a weapon for them and stuff like that. He runs into a taxi driver named Malik, who's played by an actor named Kadeem Hardison, and they end up becoming a buddy duo. It's sort of a buddy cop kind of a action movie, except of course they're not cops, but their camaraderie is so much fun in this movie. They're a blast to watch together. The action is incredible. It really is some of the best action you're going to find in an 80s, 90s movie. Mark Dacascos' martial arts skills are super impressive. And I mean, I love Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, but even Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, I mean, I don't even think the action is quite this good. This is a pretty amazing level. I'm going to take the slipcover off there. You see some alternate cover art right there. It's really funny that if you look at Kadeem Hardison, right there, that's not what he looks like in the movie. He has dreadlocks. He has way different hair. You can see him a little bit on that image right there. Brittany Murphy also co-stars in this movie. Well, she's sort of a glorified guest star. She sort of shows up at one point in the movie, but kind of steals the whole thing. R.I.P. Brittany Murphy. She was so great. She's so funny in this movie. Everything about this is just a total blast. So I highly recommend Drive from the MVD Rewind collection if you don't have it. Next up is my favorite action movie that I blind bought from Vinegar Syndrome, and there have been quite a few actually, and that is Action USA. Now, I will say this is totally out of print from Vinegar Syndrome, but it is on Blu-ray from the MVD Rewind collection. So if you want to pick this up, you can get that, but this is sort of going to be a historical document. Look at this Blu-ray that used to exist, used to be available and no longer does. Yeah, this is one of my favorite blind buys I've ever made from Vinegar Syndrome. I'm such a huge fan of this movie. It's an action movie that I believe was filmed in a town in Texas. And they made some kind of special deal with the city government to basically be able to do whatever they wanted in this town. And these filmmakers, this is kind of a low budget, sort of grungy action movie from the 1980s. Let's see if I can find an exact year. 1988. And it was made by a group of stuntmen. And yeah, they made this deal with the city government to be able to do a bunch of crazy stunts in this town. So even though it is a low budget movie, it's full of people who know what they're doing when it comes to stunt work and action movie filmmaking. And they have the run of this town to just do a ton of crazy stunts. What the movie is about is these 2 FBI agents. You can see them right there, and I actually like these characters quite a bit. When it comes to action movies, I really need to be into the characters, particularly heroes. I need somebody to root for most of the time. And I get that in this movie. I like these FBI agents, but it's basically a hostage protection movie. The plot is pretty simple. There's like a case against a drug dealer, and they got to protect this woman who's a witness. Did I say hostage protection? Witness protection is what I meant to say. But it really is the action and the insane stunt work that really makes this movie. This is a beautiful VSA release from Vinegar Syndrome. I am so happy to have it. If you don't have it yet, I'm sure you won't be able to get it. But like I said, it is from the MVD Rewind collection. And it's just a total blast of a movie. Amazing action sequences and actually likable characters. Next up is actually one of my favorite action movies of all time. This is truly like easily a top 10 for the 1980s at least. and that is Action Jackson. This is directed by a guy named Craig Baxley, who directed 3 amazing action films in the 80s and 90s. He also did Stone Cold and I Come in Peace, or you might know that as Dark Angel. If I do future editions of this underrated action series, I'll talk about those in future videos. But this is my favorite from him. It is starring Carl Weathers, who you might know right now from The Mandalorian, but come on, he's Apollo Creed in the Rocky movies. He's also in Predator. This was like his one shot at a starring role in a major action movie, and he's phenomenal in it as Sergeant Jericho Jackson, aka Action Jackson. He has one of the best, maybe the best introduction scene for any action movie character ever.
Mellow out.
But it has an amazing supporting cast. Vanity is his love interest. I love Vanity in movies like The Last Dragon and Never Too Young to Die. She was in a lot of great 80s cult movies. And then Sharon Stone is in this movie. And Craig T. Nelson is the villain from Poltergeist and from Coach. You know Craig T. Nelson. He's a great villain. He's basically like a big business Mongol. And Sergeant Jericho Jackson, Action Jackson's his cop who's going to take him down in all of his dirty dealings. It is a great time. It is packed with amazing one-liners. This is the time when I need to talk about this. I love cheese in action movies. The cheese factor is huge for me when it comes to action cinema. It's a big, big deal. I'm not as into action movies most of the time that are a lot more grounded, serious, gritty. I mean, there's some good ones for sure, but I'm probably not going to be passionate about them. I love cheesy, fun action movies, particularly from this time period. This one is also 1988, and it has great action scenes. I love the characters. I love Carl Weathers in this movie so much. There's a great scene at the end where he's driving a car through a house that's so awesome. And this is one of those movies, I feel like I've said this about a few movies on my channel. This is one of those movies that I've shown at my annual birthday movie marathon. I host a movie marathon for friends every birthday. And this was actually the first year I did it. I showed this movie and it was a big hit because it's an enormous amount of fun. This is a basic Warner Brothers Blu-ray, but this does actually have a Warner Archive release. It doesn't have any special features on it. And I've heard the transfer is basically the same. So I did not pick up the Warner Archive Blu-ray. But if you don't own this, definitely get that Warner Archive disc because I love collecting Warner Archive Blu-rays. But for now, I think this edition is good enough for me. Before I go into the top 2, just want to say real quick, dust off that like button if you enjoyed this video and give this video a like. It really does help out the channel. If you want to watch more videos of me talking about movies, talking about physical media, also dust off that subscribe button and the bell notification if you want to know when I post new videos. Usually post a new video about 1 to 2 times a week. And hit me up down in the comment section. What are some underrated action movies you think I should check out? Maybe I need to get more stuff on my radar, or just let me know what you think of these picks. Let's talk about action movies in the comments. That's my favorite part of running this channel. With all that said, let's talk about my next 2 picks. Okay, next up is kind of a weird one, but if you are into Italian horror like Suspiria, Dario Argento stuff, Demons from Lamberto Bava, The Beyond and Zombie from Lucio Fulci, if you're kind of into that Italian horror of the 70s and 80s, but you weren't aware that the Italians in that time period also made action movies, you should be. And this is an Italian action movie from the 1980s, Blastfighter. This is directed by Lamberto Bava, who made Demons. He also made A Blade in the Dark, which Vinegar Syndrome just released, and I've ordered, waiting on that to come in the mail currently. I'm so excited because I love that movie. I'm a huge fan of Lamberto Bava. He made a lot of great movies. And this is one of them. This is his action movie. It's kind of a country set action movie, and I kind of love action movies that are set like in small country towns. And it's about this guy. He's played by Michael Sopkiw, it looks like it is. He's some kind of Italian fellow, but he is a big buff mustached badass in this movie. And he is this ex-cop who left the force, and he comes back to his hometown, his small town, to just live a quiet life. But he runs into some corrupt dealings in this small town, and as he can't help but be kind of a warrior for justice, he starts fighting them off, causing a lot of problems. And also his long-lost estranged daughter lives in this town who he's able to reconnect with. So what you need to know about this is it definitely has that Italian factor of the weird dubbing and so some like weird off dialogue that, you know, a Fulci movie or an Argento movie will probably have. This is exactly like that. It's just that it's an action film this time. But I legitimately like the characters. I think this guy is not Franco Nero, but he looks a lot like Franco Nero. So not Franco Nero, I think is pretty good in this movie. George Eastman plays his ex-best friend / a villain in this. You might see George Eastman in Italian horror films like Anthropophagus or Absurd, stuff like that. And he's great here. I legitimately care about the main character's relationship with his daughter. I think all that is a good emotional hook. But the action is really good when it hits, and it has an amazing, like, rocket launcher finale. Like, if you want to know how he's going to be a blast fighter, he blasts off some guys, and there's tons of explosions. It's really cool. This is a Code Red Blu-ray. I'm sure it's out of print because Code Red is a lot less of a thing nowadays. But Kino Lorber did release this pretty recently. So if you're not able to get this Code Red disc, which I think is pretty cool, I do really like it, pick up the Kino Lorber release for sure. Because like I said, if you like Italian horror and you like action movies and you weren't aware those things can come together, then you should definitely check out Blastfighter from 1984. So this next one is definitely the movie I'm the least passionate about, but I did just watch it, so it's the newest discovery for me. And it's a movie that truly I don't see anyone talking about. So I thought, well, you know what? Let me give this a little bit of a spotlight, talk about the things I do like about it. And that is Steel Dawn. This is from 1987. It's a Vestron release. I'm trying to watch more of my Vestrons lately that I haven't seen yet. And I did just watch this. It's a Patrick Swayze action movie. And it's kind of before he was a really big action star. Because this is 87. Same year he did Dirty Dancing. But Roadhouse hadn't come out yet. That was 1989. Point Break hadn't come out yet. That was 1991. So this is before all those. And this movie is straight up The Road Warrior. It is straight up Shane. It's basically you take the plot of Shane, the old 1950s Western, put it in the Road Warrior setting, and you get Steel Dawn. So there's really nothing here you haven't seen before. I mean, the plot is tried and true. It's a plot that totally works. He's this lone warrior, ex-soldier in this post-apocalyptic world who comes into this village where they are water farmers. And he meets this woman. If you can kind of see her, you can also see her right back there. And she's kind of the leader of these farmers. It kind of reminded me of, here we go. It also kind of reminded me of Rancho Notorious. This is another 50s Western Warner Archive put out in which Marlene Dietrich's kind of the leader of this town of criminals and such. And the main character comes into it. Kind of reminded me of that. And there's this bad guy who's trying to take the land because they were able to find a lot of water, which is scarce in this world. And the bad guy's trying to run them all out. And Patrick Swayze's got to stop him, right? He's got to kick him. He's got to punch him. He's got to sword fight him. Because yes, there are sword fights in this movie. Because there are no guns. It's this they really commit to the post-apocalyptic thing. And there's some really cool fight scenes in this movie. Sword fights, fist fights, kick fights, a lot of really good stuff. It has a romance to it, as you would expect, between Patrick Swayze and that woman, and that's all good stuff. He also forms a relationship with her son. Reminds me a lot of Shane. Also reminds me a lot of Nowhere to Run with Van Damme, which is that's a really underrated action film. But that hadn't come out yet, so I can't say Steel Dawn is a derivative of that. Now, it is a little bit slow. It's not the most beautiful looking movie in the world because it is very beige, very gray, not a lot of colors to it. So there's not a lot of opportunity for this Vestron Blu-ray to really shine. But it is a movie that, like, you know, no one's really talking about this. So I do recommend you check it out, especially if you're a Vestron collector, you're getting all those Blu-rays. Haven't popped this in yet, like I hadn't until just today. I do recommend it. Patrick Swayze is awesome, right? And I'm always down to watch a Patrick Swayze movie, and I think this one is pretty good. All right, that's it, folks. 5 underrated action movies I'm recommending you check out. If you want to see volume 2 of more underrated action films, let me know down in the comments below. Would love to talk about more action cinema. Like I said, talk to me in the comments. What are some underrated action films you think I should check out? Dust off that like button if you enjoyed this video and the subscribe button for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. And with all that said, go have some fun. I'll see you later.